Peace and blessings. So this video I'm going to talk about why I like the, it's not really a review, but just kind of how I use the Oracle of the Radiant Sun. This is one of my all-time favorite Oracle decks. I think it's very forward. It is based on astrology, although each planet has a suit. So each planet is paired with a zodiac sign. So it's kind of like 7 by 12 in terms of combinations. Now, there's a keyword for each of these, but this keyword is not the end-all be-all. It's similar to archetypes in the way of using this deck for people who are just maybe starting off trying to read astrology charts and stuff like that. You're always going to read planet and sign as a idea or a concept. So Venus being receptive, Pisces being very mystical and dissipating. Would a good keyword for these two would be submission. It's not the only word that you can use, but also what I like about this Oracle deck is, you don't have to use the astroglyphs if you don't want to. I tend to do that. Sometimes I riff off of these and I kind of completely ignore this middle word, but sometimes that middle word really pops out to me, and then the images really do speak as well. I think this deck is really beautiful. I'm so glad they brought it back into print. It was one of those I was listing over and I was like, I'm never gonna get this deck. And then when I finally got it, I was just absolutely like stuck with it. The imagery doesn't necessarily match what I use with it when I pair it with tarot, but I really don't care. It just works really well for me. So again, you have the moon, planet or luminary in Gemini. The moon has its phases, it shifts, right? It waxes, it wanes. Gemini it's fleeting, it's a mutable sign, it's talkative, it's flighty. So adaptability here is very much, again, a really good synthesis of how a moon in Gemini might manifest itself in terms of the word like adaptability, and then again the imagery sometimes it talks to me a lot more in other cases, but most of the time I almost just use this little bottom piece here to kind of provide context. Flirtation, again, you have Venus, right? Love and receptivity and sweetness and beauty, and then you have Sagittarius, the archer, the explorer, the searcher, and so if you're searching for affection, this could be acted out as flirtation. So people ask how I use the deck. Again, you have to kind of know that my background is astrological, so it's easy for me to look at these glyphs and see how they came up with this keyword here. And like in this image, you can definitely see what the flirtation looks like, she's holding the bow and arrow for the archer, and she's also has this Venusian quality where she's kind of showing a little bit of skin, and she has a pose of, come hither, and there's flowers everywhere. So, I mean, really, I feel like this deck can be used by multiple amounts of people and various skill sets, So here we have flattery, right? Hearing, Gemini being talkative, listening or giving flattery so that somebody receives this gentleness, this sweetness, this kind of wooing kind of feel. I mean, flattery is not always wooing per se, but it kind of is. But flattery, and again, I can't stress it enough. Your question is going to determine how your cards are going to respond. The more precise your question, the more precise your answer. The more vague your question, the more vague your cards will be. I don't care if it's tarot, oracle, I don't really care what divination system it is. Now, if you're doing a general and you're good with generals and your cards just talk to you, more power to you. We all do things our own way, but I do find that with clarity in question and a little bit of detail in the question, it helps to determine how it figures itself. So here we have Mercury. Mercury is of he's swift. He's swift communication. Commerce and Cancer. Cancer is about the home. It's kind of like being aware, being acutely aware of what's happening in your immediate surroundings. And you can see it, hear it, feel it. And that is that intuition. It's almost like a claircognizance, if you will. But with it being in a water sign of Cancer there, it's a little bit more, it's like claircognizance. But that claircognizance also, like, you could also feel it too, like this pair right here. There are, if you've done like midpoints before in astrology, sometimes like some of those combination explanations are really good to help more expand on like this deck or many of the cards in this deck. So yeah, Scorpio is intense. Mercury again is about the mind and perception, and so extremism could be a perceived expression of intensity. So now I've done like my regular 3-card spread. I've done with this deck, I've done the astrological wheel before with this deck, and it doesn't have any hair on its tongue. It's pretty forward with the words that it uses to describe these things, right? Saturn and Virgo. It talks about isolation, and it's the details about the isolation. And again, context. Context will always take me with a particular card into a very focused direction, and I find these cards do really well in that in those parameters. But again, if you just were wanting to pull 3 cards and see what it said just for the sake of seeing what it said, it's gonna almost give you a sentence: charity, discrimination, drama. Like, it could be very straightforward. Like, did you have some drama and issues about discrimination at your last charity event? Ba-bam. It's like boom right there, right? And that's just based off of those keywords. But also here, then what I look at are the planets at play, right? Saturn is about responsibilities, restrictions. Again, Venus is about kind of beauty and what you made it. It's like how you felt about this charity. You put your heart and your soul into it, and you really were feeling it. Cancer card, you were feeling it. It was like your second home. You spent so much time on it, and somebody just nitpicked it to death. And that caused a whole bunch of drama because you guys were just not seeing eye to eye. So that's kind of how I read these cards. Again, it all comes, I was just reading them just for the sake of reading them for an example here, but you kind of see how I just kind of, so like when you read Lenormand, it's kind of like that, where it's like, it's very just quick, 1, 2, 3. put in a sentence, how does it go? And then, but here I get to add an additional layers of like looking at what I know about the planets and what I know about the signs and reading it in order. Typically the image that's on here will support what I'm saying, and then at that point I jump into the image and kind of go, you see what I mean about the bumping heads right here, where you guys are just, things are split and there was a argument of some sort, that kind of thing. I'll do one more example and then I'm gonna get off here. So we have seduction, detachment, secrets. Okay, so this one almost feels like hey, almost like you had a lover, something was happening, like basically it's like seduction, detachment, secrets. Trying to seduce your partner, your partner is being detached, probably because they're keeping secrets or you're keeping secrets. What are those secrets about? It doesn't necessarily say. I mean, again, context, but the secrets could be about seduction from another person, or it could just be their own personal secrets that they're in their own headspace about, that's keeping them detached, even though you're trying to get some, and they're like not feeling it. Well, why? Because there's some underlying secrets here that's being hidden and that needs to come into light. So that's a very like quick way of kind of sort of looking at that. So now the guidebook that this comes with is actually pretty decent. Okay, so I'm gonna pull this back just a little bit here just so you can see. So here's the Oracle of the Radiant Sun. This did come from Amazon. Again, this is the reprint. But it tells you, what the signs are. It talks about the houses a little bit. It talks about horary astrology. Because again, there's different techniques of astrology. Here's a really cool spread. The astrological spread talks a little bit about the signs, so it does break it down for a super beginner. And then there's shapes specific to each of the card types. So if it's the sun, you see this, like there's this arch way. If it's the moon, it has this. If it's Mercury, it has that, etc., etc. And then basically this is kind of sort of what it looks like throughout the whole book. You have the first card, right? Sun in Aries, assertion. The sun is fortune. Aries is willpower or self-will here. And then there's a little blurb about the illustration. And then it goes into how you read this as personal, how you might read this if this came out as an event. And also, there's also a little paragraph or piece at the end of each of these longer things that also says, if you get this in a reading, it could mean this and that. So, they're all like this. Acquisition, sun in Taurus. What is sun? Fortune. What is Taurus? It says materials and values, right? Self-worth, the acquisition of self-worth and self-value. And also, material values, because we need those things to live, or comforts. The fortune of earthly comforts could be another way of putting these two words together. But again, they both do kind of boil down to that word acquisition, if you will, So that's pretty much how that guidebook goes. And then there's a bunch of spreads in the back. Not on overabundance, but a lot of them are astrological based, having this center one and then the rest of the cards around, like in an astrology chart. So anyways, so this is just my quick little touch base on the Oracle of the Radiant Sun. I absolutely adore this deck. I really can't, most of you guys know I do use Lenormand because it's a system. I have a hard time reaching for randomly my oracle decks that don't necessarily have a system, but this does have a system. It's a little unique unto itself, but not so far off of where my knowledge base is that I feel very comfortable with this as soon as I got it. This deck does pair really nicely with the Cosmic Tribe. No, not Cosmic Tribe. The Cosmic Tarot. And also the Hayworth Tarot. And there's another deck. I can't remember the name of it. It is hard to find, hard to get. It's like a TDM deck. I believe that the colors match this really, really well. I'm going to have to dig for it, see if I could find it. But yeah, I think this works well standalone as an oracle deck, which I don't, almost in the same vein of tarot, which I don't say that about very many oracle decks. I want to pair them or have to pair them with a tarot deck, my own practice. But this one, for an oracle deck, it stands alone. Like if somebody wanted a reading with this, I can just give them that reading. I would still feel a little weird not using tarot because I'm using cards, but because it's astrology based, it's like riding a bike. It feels right at home. Fulfillment of riches and optimism, or the optimism of the fulfillment of riches. So you kind of have this question here. Long-term things you set your sights on, that you've been going for, that you've been working hard for, will perceive itself to continue to grow and move forward and expand. And that could be, in any terms, we would think here with Capricorn and Saturn, this has more to do with vocation or career, long-term planning, and fulfillment is, that long-term planning, though, is also something that you really desire to do and that you have no problem adapting and, rolling with the punches. And that in your internal self, the moon here, your internal self, you also feel that like some kind of scholarly wisdom of some sort, based on having gone through what you've gone through to get to the riches and the fulfillment of the riches, whether that be humbly so or otherwise. So yeah, so this is my quick video, just taking a look at the Radiant Sun Tarot. It's been a while since I've done a video where I'm just talking about the cards that I have on me, but I have been using this deck a lot in 2020, and I wanted to share it here with you guys. Again, I have a hard time putting this one down, and it's been in my working go-to box ever since I've gotten it. It's one of the only oracle decks that I have in my basket with my tarot decks. This cheese stands alone, my friends. Absolutely. So, all right. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Until then, take care of yourselves. Much love, many blessings. Peace.